That's fine. I think we should be
good to ride.
I think we're live. Hey, what's up, everyone? Happy Tuesday. We're back again. This is Bitcoin Jack, joined here today by Crypto Italiano, or AKA as Don. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's a fabulous Tuesday, almost afternoon, kind of finishing the morning up here. It's been well, man. How's your morning been, dude?
My morning has been exciting. We made sure that we could pick the winner of the retweet contest that we had. Last 2 weeks ago, we asked you guys to retweet a tweet on the Bravado Twitter answering what Don's favorite car is. Everyone who retweeted it with the right answer is gonna get thrown into a random tweet draw online. We cannot pick the winner. The application will pick the winner. And beyond that, I'm really satisfied with the fact that it kind of looks like there's more confirmation that we're right on Bitcoin being bearish. It's not fully confirmed yet, but we've started to become bearish in the last 2 weeks. We started to see some distribution signs, and the recent breakdown of Bitcoin adds confirmation, adds fuel, adds belief to that might be the case. And I'm really excited because if Bitcoin indeed is going to do what I think it's going to do, we're going to be able to make some real nice cash on that short. And we're going to get another buying opportunity to buy more spot BTC. And we're grinding every day to make more fiat so we can pump that fiat into Bitcoin to create some financial freedom. So yeah, I'm really excited, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. I mean, it's going to provide a lot of opportunity for us this upcoming month and these months to come. If we play it right, if the market presents what it's looking like it's going to present, I think there's going to be some very nice opportunity us in the very near future. So I'm looking forward to that. I mean, as this thing goes down, we can make money. So let's stay focused on big picture here. So.
I see we have a few people in the chat. What's up? BVH, Jadida, and LibZ are most like, you're always in there, man. I appreciate that. Same as BVH. What else are we going to talk about? I think we're going to talk about how Bitcoin looks today, how Bitcoin has been looking. I have a few thoughts on that, and I'm pretty sure that you have a few thoughts on that as well. We want to talk about what short hedging is and why it's important, and how we're going to do it, how we're going to, like, even if Bitcoin does not continue to drop, how we're going to hedge ourselves. And we still want to play alts. And we have a strategy where we can expose ourselves to alts, and if alts drop as Bitcoin drops, if that's the case, that we actually not even lose in USD and actually gain BTC. So we're going to share that strategy with you guys. And I think we're going to talk about, I mean, obviously we need to talk about ETH because that's going to be the main driver, I think, if we're going to see an alt season. We're going to talk about the total crypto altcoin market cap versus the Bitcoin market cap, so the ratio. I think we should talk about XRP. We should talk about EOS. We should definitely talk about Enigma and ZIL.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of a full show already. So if you guys have any questions or requests, get them in the chat box now, because if they're gonna end up there in 15 minutes, we're probably not going to be able to go over them.
Yeah, we can go over all those, and we can go over some BNB. We can go over some exchange tokens as well. I do want to touch briefly on KCS. KCS, KuCoin shares. It's something that I've caught my eye recently, and I want to share with you guys. So yeah, you want to go ahead and jump right into Bitcoin, or do you want to jump into giving our subscription away?
We're gonna start with the subscription. I mean, come on, we have to celebrate the fact that we did 10 shows together already, and
yeah, very
so
true.
Let's start with that. I'm gonna share my screen here. So the tweet, Miss Don and Jack Live, episode 10. Watch the replay and retweeted. Actually, we didn't have that many retweets. I'm not really sure whether the message came across or not, but you know, like we got 7 retweets, and we decided that we're just going to use the retweets because everyone who retweeted it said something with Lambo. The answer, Don's favorite car is Lambo. And on the other tweet, we had people that maybe not really understand that, but people like replied maybe like 20 times Lambo, which was really funny because Kyle, he does most of the Bravado Twitter. He didn't know about this whole ID, so all of a sudden he was getting all these notifications like Lambo, 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 and he was like, "What's going on?" That was really funny. So, anyways, we're gonna copy this URL right there, and we're gonna drop it in an application called TweetDraw, and you know, like, do we play a music sound or whatever? Just gonna do it here. Oh, the winner of 1 month free access to our trading community is LibZ. Congratulations. I think
LibZ.
I think you're watching us right now. He is in the
LibZ.
He is in
Congratulations, boss.
All right, we're gonna get you set up. Just send us a DM on Discord or on Twitter, and we're gonna get it done. I'll send you a message to remind you. That said, congratulations. I'm gonna make a little screenshot of this if my computer allows me to. There we go.
I just looked into, someone just posted in our chat that Coinbase potentially listing coming for Zil. Like Coinbase.
It would not surprise me. I mean, their mainnet, I think, is going to go live on the 10th of June, and they're probably going to, I think they're going to be the first mainnet with sharding enabled. So it's exciting. It's some really proper FA, and the chart is lining up. That's really exciting. Well, one more time, LibZ, congratulations. I'm going to get in touch with you. And then I'm just going to hop in to Bitcoin.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So cutting things short on why I think that Bitcoin has come into a region where I think it's likely that Bitcoin is going to see some kind of reversal happening is the fact that we had this Elliott 5 Elliott waves here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Usually this is a level where you're going to find resistance. There is this resistance block here, the last open before we made a high here, before we started to correct further down and made a new low compared to this low. That's definitely resistance in between the retest that we saw in July. So there's like this kind of little gap here in efficiency. Price is always attracted to these inefficiencies, wants to fill those gaps, and there's liquidity because even on a 3-day we had like 2 equal highs right here. Oftentimes when you have 2 equal highs and price comes in from a long way out, it's often the level where you kind of find your liquidity and subsequent rejection. That combined with the fact that we saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Elliott wave here formation, is likely that we're going to see an ABC correction. And I'm not really sure. I cannot really say where that's going to go, but it's probably very likely that it's going to be much deeper than people expect. A lot of people expect 6 to 7K. Everyone wants 6 to 7K. I think the good news is everyone's going to get it. The bad news is you may have wished to have waited for a better price. That said, if we zoom in on that Elliott wave, you can see how wave 5 usually doesn't go higher than the 1.618 extension of the top of wave 3 to the bottom of wave 4. We kind of touched into that, and oftentimes you will also see like the 1.414 or the 1.272 act as a level where it stops. So that's kind of where this looks to be topping out, and now we're kind of like in this channel here. This channel's, I'm not really sure if this eventually is going to hold. Kind of looks like it's hugging it. This is the channel that I created just of drawing from these two wicks here, and it kind of works like a support level. But to explain what I'm seeing on it, like on a price action level, I have to take you guys with me to what happened in April, May. So in April, May, we had this double top kind of formation where we got rejected heavily. And as you can see right here, there's this wick low and there's this wick high here. There's kind of like an inefficiency. This price was never really filled. Price started to move away, and then it had to like come back into it, but it never really did. So there was a little gap here. And then on top of that, on the daily, we had these closes here, like the support here, and it was eventually broken down. So we call that a bearish breaker. And the order block that pushed us through the bearish breaker sits around here. So there's some consolidation here. Price got support and then got rejected. I would call that a bearish order block into the retest on the wick high we saw here. So there's like three structures here that kind of like are like price is drawn to these levels, but there are also quite strong resistances. And as you can see right here, like on the, let me zoom in on the 4 hour, you can see how perfect this rejection on the EQ of that gap was. And then eventually we ran up, we swept this high, and then we kind of like got rejected off the EQ of that order block. And since then, we never actually managed to get back. Then this bearish breaker level here, the purple one, then started to act as a real resistance as well. So we kind of got this structure. We swept the stops here and saw we took out like some supply here, but it got rejected heavily and then never managed to reclaim it. And now here's the real thing why I'm increasingly becoming bearish. It's we have this pennant here, and a pennant is usually a larger structure that eventually breaks out, and the consolidation prior to breakout is oftentimes if the breakout, if the expansion is relatively strong, or it has some speed to it, is going to be a very strong support level. And it's best shown on the hourly chart. I think you see that you have this hourly order block from which we expanded. You can see how perfectly this actually tapped into it, like, and got rejected. And then the second time it came into it, there was not enough demand anymore, and we just broke through it. So this entire thing here is the 4 hour order block, and that got smacked too. So I'm now going to assume that this was a support that now turned resistance, and that we may trade higher again, man, but not before we tap some liquidity to the downside. What do you think, Don?
No, I agree completely. We could very well see some upside here. I don't believe we will. If you actually, I want to show you something. You could leave your screen open, but could you go to the 16 hour? I want to just, because as far as like those I'm being serious. As far as like the 4 hour and the 12 hour, there's not a clean order block. I want you to show you the 16 hour and go to that. And now look at that. There's a little bit cleaner block there. And if you look on as far as the 16 hour candle that just recently closed, if you actually find the equilibrium of that block, well, you're showing Bitstamp, I believe, right? Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, I'm showing Bitstamp.
I see. I'm on BitMEX, but it's very similar. Nonetheless,
the one is the other is index. Oh,
yeah. Nonetheless, on the 16 hour, we actually closed below that 16 hour order block equilibrium, which if you do close below, you normally see a back test to the equilibrium of the 16 hour, and then a downside continuation will ensue. So that's what I'm looking at currently on my screen. So for you, we may see a little bit upside, but I do agree with you on This might be just a simple back test downside continuation to the lower 7,600 region before we do see any upside. So I do agree with you on that entirely. I think this, from a daily perspective, like you stated, there's a complete market structure break on the daily, and when that ensues, we will see some lower prices. Now, where are we at? Where are we headed next? Upon that market structure break, what were you gonna say?
I don't know. Like if we're not gonna break down further from here, I'm gonna assume that we're gonna trade into this hourly bearish order block here that we got rejected off. It right now it's the 79% retrace level of the last swing high here, and this swing low here, and we have like 2 equal highs here, so there's some liquidity resting there.
Right. I'll show you what. Let me show you something that can I share my screen real quick?
Sure, go for it.
Something very that I think that we should keep our eyes on going forward. All right, so what we've seen here, we began our short hedge at 84.90. We created a range here on the 4-hour, range high, range low. When we saw this sweep of a 4-hour swing failure into daily demand, right? We didn't get to the equilibrium at 91.55.50, almost there, missed it by roughly $20 or $30. We had a smack rejection, clean rejection. Where immediately when you see like a double stop run, especially into daily demand, one can assume that we're going to see some downside continuation to lower demand, and that's exactly what we saw. We tapped some 4-hour demand. We saw some upside, and if you actually do draw a fib from this high and this low, a high at 91.11 and a low of 79.44, and our 0.79 OTE is 88.65. Look how close we got to that rejection, 88.60.50, right? We're $4 or $5 off, and look at that reaction off the optimal trade entry, OTE. That's what it stands for those that don't know that term. But strong rejection, and we traded lower, right? So what I wanted to show you here, that where we possibly could trade to, I do see AK being a resistance. I believe there's a high here that AK already have it signaled. So at that AK region, what I do want to see the reaction to is this 82.70, this block that was completely ignored, right? We had a complete 4-hour dump right through this block. So when we do tend to trade back up, you will notice that this block that we just completely blatantly went right through as demand will serve as some resistance.
I think it's not gonna hold though. Like I think there's no, I think it's gonna try and find liquidity higher. Bitcoin is this weird asset sometimes where those simple flips don't work. That hourly order block that I just showed you, that was probably the first bearish breaker that actually worked out in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we've been in an uptrend, so no doubt about that one. But that's where I'm looking. Any uptick, if we don't see here, I want to show you that 16-hour block real quick. Let's make this a little clearer picture. What I was speaking about on Jack's chart. From this is a clean 16-hour. Like I said, I don't trade 16-hour blocks often, but sometimes just to visualize and get a better idea of where it is. If you find this equilibrium of this block, 79.85, we closed below.
Yeah, we definitely closed below.
We definitely closed the 16-hour close below. So, from an order block perspective, it's right that we back test the equilibrium 79.85, more than likely get rejected before we see some downside continuation. If we do get a close back above, I'd imagine we do go trade a little bit higher and grab some liquidity before we do trade lower. It's just one thing, this from a daily perspective, this is a very clean market structure break, and one can only assume that we're going to go see lower demand. Now it's just finding the opportunity to get to build your short position and hedge position. So,
yeah, and what makes this break even more interesting is that we had like that pennant I was showing you. If you go back to the 4-hour or something, that pennant.
This pennant right here.
Yes. So all the volume that was traded in that pennant kind of like was going in this wave up and down, and it got to this very specific point in price where bears and bulls became balanced. So it's such an order block, as you showed, like the 16-hour order block or the 4-hour order block or the 1-hour order block, all at like towards the end of that pennant, becomes so much heavier because there was so much more people who got into a position and then were wrong or right. So there is a lot more money involved with that level. There's a lot more people who got an entry short, who got, were underwater, and undoubtedly try to close their shorts at break even. And that creates a lot of buy pressure if the people are trying to close their shorts. If you then fail to hold that level, so the first tap, the first wick into that consolidation block there, that's that one exactly. That was people mitigating their shorts. They're like, oh shit, I was short, and now I get the opportunity to get out of that short without too much losses. And then the second time it came trading into it, it should have held, but it didn't. So bears didn't show up. It's
both. It's definitely like this is it's becoming, after a complete look at this weekly, guys. I mean, after a vicious move, after a vicious move, you go grab some higher supply. We're starting to see some clear weaknesses on a lower time frame, 12-hour, daily, 3-day, and it's starting to mitigate towards the higher time frame now. We're in a new month. We had a strong monthly close from a macro trend perspective. This is what someone who's a high time frame buyer would want to see, right? We are looking as a high time frame buyer in a macro perspective, we're looking for a back test and for an opportunity to buy. So I wanted to show you guys this weekly range that we've been trading around. We traded above this weekly range high, 84.87. We cracked back below, right? And my eyes are on this 71.15 range right now. 71.15 as a short target is very, very key. I believe we are headed there. That's the equilibrium of this weekly range that we completely just we just grab some supply and we're going to go trade a little bit lower. That 71.15 might be the area where we bounce and we continue up. I don't know. I don't know. But it's an area that it interests me. If you are hedge short, it's an area where I would definitely trim some off. And this may very well go to 6 and 5K, but manage your risk, and manage your position accordingly.
Yeah. So Don, let's talk a little bit about our hedge short.
Okay.
And so we hedge short, but not like full bag.
So one thing, I'll speak about it. So one thing that we did see, immediately when we saw this grab of liquidity, buy stop scrap, and we saw this double stop run. One thing to note, when you see a double stop run on any time frame from the 4-hour to the 12-hour to the daily, and sometimes they go even higher time frame, that's an early indication that a big move is incoming. Okay, and I've stressed this out in my channel that a double stop run clear stops both ways. And in this instance, in this example, when you see a swing failure, a 4-hour swing failure, also a tap into high time frame supply, and a rejection that we saw, only one can assume that we are going to go trade lower, and that's what we got, right? We back tested the OTE, and we filled around 84.90. The reason why we filled on this break, we broke below, but we started trading back above our entry, right? And we didn't get the 0.79 OT. I was hesitant to add the remaining 50% of our short hedge because I was very unsure if we were going to continue to break up. Because if we did break above 72, I did mention 87.72, 250. If we broke back above that level, the bearish invalidation would kick in and we would get stopped out. But nonetheless, we got a the bullish invalidation that we were looking for, a close below 8,400. And look, we got a close below 84 and we completely dumped through it. The bullish invalidation is clear. Now, in my opinion, I think it's clear that we're going to continue downtrend. Now it's for me and us to predict, or where's price headed next? Where's the best position to add this remaining 50% of short hedge?
So Don,
because,
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
All right. So what's the purpose of the short hedge? Maybe we can start explaining to our listeners, like, we're not necessarily just shorting because we want to make money, because we also have some exposure to other assets that may perform poor if Bitcoin drops, right? So can you maybe explain to our listeners, like, how that works and why we do it and how we're going to do it? Like,
so it's a way to protect and preserve our capital, right? So we're in some alt positions, I believe. Do you know how many we're in right now currently at the top of your head?
Yeah, about 7.
About 7 alt positions. So we're currently hedging our alt positions. We have exposure to our short side, so just in case Bitcoin does dump furiously, and we have to have some exposure on the short end because our alt exposure is fairly heavy at this time. We don't know what's going to happen, right? We expect that we're going to see an uptick here and add to our short hedge, but having that short exposure to your alt exposure is key to managing your portfolio as a whole, and staying conservative and staying profitable. So you have anything to add to that specifically? I know you have a few things.
Yeah, so I mean, we don't really, like, let's sketch the scenario where Bitcoin is going to continue to drop, right? Let's say Bitcoin is going to print a big fat $2,000 candle down. We're not really sure if alts are going to hold. For now, alts are holding up pretty well. I have a chart that can show you the ratio of alts in BTC. They're holding up pretty well. Actually, they've been uptrending for the last couple of well, maybe like the last couple of weeks, maybe like last 2 weeks or something. But maybe if Bitcoin prints a $2,000 candle down or a $1,000 candle down, that might change. So we're gonna lose money on that. Our stops are gonna get hit, and we're gonna lose money on BTC because it's going to drop. So in that case, we want to make sure that, let's say 40% of our portfolio is alts and 40% of our portfolio is BTC, and then 20% of our portfolio is in fiat. At that point, what we want to do, preferably if we're convincingly bearish on Bitcoin, we want to use that 40% Bitcoin, and we want to make it represent the other 40% we have in alts. So what we do is we use that 40% and we adjust our leverage so that it represents the whole 80% that includes the alts. So if the alts drop, we at least have some downside protection. We preserve our USD value and might actually gain BTC during, like, whilst doing it. If alts hold up nicely, we could actually make money, like a lot of money, whilst Bitcoin is dropping. So that's the best scenario that could play out. Worst case scenario, alts drop, Bitcoin goes up, and we get stopped out of our position, and we'll lose some BTC. But in terms of USD, we'll at least have managed our risk. We won't lose any USD, and we can continue. I mean, it's all about, like, are you willing to risk 20-30% of your portfolio value right now for a bit more upside, or do you think that the market is going to come down? And we think that the market is going to come down, but alts look really good, man. Like, I think alts look good.
I agree, and well said on that explanation.
Let's see, because I'm quickly going to share my screen on the alt market cap.
Yeah, go ahead.
One last thing on Bitcoin. Just want to share you my thoughts on how I dissected this structure here. As I showed you guys earlier, I was thinking we were about to print a fifth wave, fifth Elliott wave, which is on Bitstamp, that was from 6,100 to 9K. But as you could see, as we came up here in price was really steep. Volume kept on going, but then we saw a really high volume sell-off. The biggest volume during this up run on Bitstamp, besides the volume we saw on the breakout at like 4.2K, was here. So there was some heavy selling. I believe distribution started here. This was like the buying climax, and then it came down. Then price continued to rally up, but volume didn't really increase that much anymore. And then again, we saw rejection. And then next what happened is that we saw a large sell-off on higher volume. So that's usually the first sign, like distribution might be ongoing. And then you can see that on the recovery upwards, price did not move as fast anymore. It became a lot slower and the volume kept on coming down. And then on the breakout, on that final move, the fifth wave move, you can see we had some volume, but it was nothing compared to the volume we saw before. And then usually what you see, you print a high, you come down, you sweep it like Don explained before. And on that sell-off, you can see there was significantly higher volume than its surroundings. And then again, after the next rejection, you saw volume increase again on that sell-off. So that kind of, volume, when volume increases in a certain direction, it kind of confirms that direction. And after that, we also now broke out of this rising wedge. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen here. I think that Don is right that we probably come down first to what's this level? Probably come down first. Maybe we just already stop at like 73, 74 here. There's like this little inefficiency here. And otherwise we come down further towards like the $7,100 range. I do think that that price should see a bounce and that we're going to trade back up into the 8 to 8.5K region, depending on how low we go. This is usually how it plays out. It's going to come down, and I think we're going to retest those, like not those highs, but at least get close to it eventually, and then we'll see the sell-off. This is the altcoin market cap divided by the Bitcoin market cap ratio. So if this goes up, alts as a whole gain sats. If this comes down, alts as a whole lose satoshis. And as you can see, since the 13th of May, these have actually been in a slight uptrend. On the 3-day, you can probably not call it an uptrend because we never really gained any high. It swept this high here. So this looks decent. This looks like a consolidation after sweeping this low here. It looks good in my opinion. You want to talk about ETH BTC?
Yeah, my stance is pretty ETH. Oh, you want to talk about ETH BTC? You can talk about it.
I'll talk about ETH BTC.
I think we might have two different views on that one.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing for ETH BTC, if I zoom out, is I see a large impulse move on record volume. This was the highest volume printed for ETH ever. It was on Coinbase, Binance. They all had record volume for ETH on all pairs combined, like ETH BTC, ETH USD, etc. And after that, price has been grinding down very slowly on low volume. We saw some interest here pop up. We saw a grab of liquidity at this low here. We never really closed under this green block, which I'll show you in a bit what this green block really consists of. So this looks like consolidation. And usually consolidation after a strong impulse move on a lot of volume is it's reaccumulation. It's a retrace. It's for buying. We retraced from this breakout level here. We retraced to half. We actually never closed under half, under 50%. So that's a very bullish sign as well. Like oftentimes you will see price retrace maybe like 70 to 80% after an initial move from a key support, which it didn't. And let me just go through the 3-day. This block here, the green block, is a block that we've been going up and under a few times during this entire consolidation, and it kind of looks like a wick of accumulation pattern to me. So we have equal lows here. Usually you don't see equal lows. Usually you will probably see this low come as low as here, but I think if you revisit this is a support that is just going to be so weak, and if there's any bulls, price should never come back to here anymore. So we gained this high here on the 7th of May. We're consolidating here on this pivot. I do think this was our spring. This is our test, and from here on we also broke out of the lockdown trend that we saw since the February 1st of 2018. So that's kind of bullish too. And then we have this diagonal here. We're trying to break out of it. I do think that's bullish. And if this is an accumulation pattern, this is 9 months of accumulation. So that gives us eventually a target back to almost all-time high on ETH BTC, but that could take 2 years. But I at least think that ETH BTC, if it completes this accumulation, it's going to go and grab liquidity on this like double bottom here before it broke down. So yeah, that's ETH BTC. You think that we're coming down on it, right?
No. I could show you real quick. I don't necessarily think that. I think it actually. I'm just waiting. I've been really patient with this trade, and you could see my screen, correct?
Yeah.
I've been really patient with this trade, and as you can see, it's kind of paid off right now. But what I'm seeing here is I'm going to show you guys this right here. Keep your eyes on these guys, right? We got some breakers, blocks in here, right? And we're tapping into them. We're grabbing demand, and from a weekly perspective, let me change my marker here. I did like that with that past weekly close. It wasn't the best, but it was suffice enough. But what I'm looking for is a close above this this equilibrium. If you look at the 3-day at 32197, and hey guys, it might leave without me. If I get a clean daily close above this, I mean, look how clean this is, that rejection at that, and we don't get a close below, we don't get
you should not forget that wig had like the most volume seen in ETH ever. So don't just throw it away as a wig.
Yeah. Right.
That retrace was low volume.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it speaks for itself there. You're correct. But for me, as this setup itself, I'm looking for a close back above 32197. If I get a high time frame 12-hour daily, it looks like we're beginning to reverse here. But if we do see that close, I believe we'll see no problem here. I'll be looking for something like this, buy the back test before we go test higher liquidity. But what I'm looking for here is I'm not trying to play this. If I do make this trade, I'm not trying to play this too heavy. I'm looking to take my profits at 37512 and more than likely get out and complete that trade. Range high looks as if it's going to be a very strong resistance, and once it gets rejected there, I believe we'll see something like this. Let me draw this out for you guys. Back test here, go back up, get rejected, come back down, consolidate, maybe get a back test at EQ before we do go trade higher. I'm not trying to stay in that trade too long. I do think from a high time frame perspective, there's a weekly block all the way up here where my flag is at 5.6. Do I think it's ready to take that out yet? I don't believe so. But like I said, it would be more of a short-term trade for me. From a high time frame perspective, it look like it's gearing up for a fairly decent move.
Yeah. So if Don would have been in this trade, he would have been more bullish. But
no, I've just been waiting for my confirmations. Once I get those, I'll have no problem entering.
Yeah. Bart is talking about LTC, so I want to talk a little bit about LTC because I made that setup.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
And Mark McAllister's first time he's watching, he's asking us what our thoughts on potential retrace levels for ETHUSD are. So maybe you can do that, and then after that we hop into Litecoin.
Yeah, cool. I'm looking at it on my other. Go ahead and you can touch base on that. I'm looking at it right now on ETHUSD.
All right, you want to talk about the Litecoin? Let me.
I mean, ETHUSD. I mean, this.
Let's see if I can find.
Very interesting.
Litecoin.
ETHUSD has not, formulated any range like deviation. It hasn't, respected any range deviations, or like it's just been so weird. That's why I haven't been trading. That's why I haven't been covering it much in my channels, because it just hasn't adapted to, it hasn't presented anything up, to my trading style. Nonetheless, I do think this thing is bearish. Where do I think this baby's going?
Okay, so I'm not able to find the specific chart I had drawn
Litecoin?
for Litecoin, but I can draw it out pretty easily and fast because it's on top of my head. My thoughts on Litecoin going into the halving is that it has at least three more weeks of upside. Historically, 4 to 6 weeks before the halving, Litecoin performs really well, and we're still 3 to 5 weeks before that moment happens. So Litecoin is gonna do their halving in the beginning of August. I think the 8th is what currently is expected, and basically what I'm seeing on Litecoin, I think we're looking at a reaccumulation. So we had these 3 accumulations here, and then this reversal top. And the way I see it, if I can draw if it lets me draw this last box, yes. All right. So the way I see Litecoin right now is we had a large accumulation right here, markup, reaccumulation, markup, reaccumulation. Maybe some distribution happening here, but I don't think so. Then they sold here, trapped a bunch of longs and came trading down, and then they tapped into the liquidity of the stops that were sitting in this consolidation here. But if you think about it, this is a very large consolidation. This is a large accumulation. No way on earth that this has been distributed already. If our assumption is that Litecoin is going to trade higher before the halving, which I do think is the case, then it kind of seems that this is a retrace where people are panic selling. People got their stops stopped. We got one strong reaction on high volume here, and then we tapped the lows one more time, grabbing even more liquidity to actually push price straight back above this consolidation range. So I do think Litecoin is printing like some kind of pennant here, from which we're going to continue upwards, and there's still a lot to be distributed, and I think they even picked up more down here. So to me, it makes sense that Litecoin is at least going to retrace into this upper range of price, and potentially even make a new high. That would not surprise me, but I expect that we're at least going to trade to this range. If we go into this range, I see some resistance at like the last green candle, the bottom of the last green candle right here at like 17,628. And if it happens that we trade past that, you know, we're probably going to trade towards 20K, maybe we even make like new highs. Maybe we go into price discovery. That would be, I mean, it could happen if we get alt season. It only takes 2, 3, 4 weeks for certain coins like even majors to go like 2, 3x. So anything can happen. But
Yeah.
Our current position plays it as such that by the time we get to this level here, we're going to probably have closed about 80% of our position on Litecoin, and if it trades higher to like 20K, we're going to close everything. If it does break out, if it does go into price discovery, we'll re-enter, but we're definitely going to take profit very soon.
Yeah, I mean, I can jump into Ethereum when you're ready. I'm Ethereum USD.
Let's go for it.
Okay, cool. Give me 1 second to share. All right. So real quick, what I'm looking at on Ethereum USD. So we just got rejected at our 3-day supply, right? We didn't tap the EQ, just about, let's see, high of 280, 288.75. We're about like $4 off, and we didn't tap it, similar to Bitcoin, right? And the reaction that we got. But, you know, for me, I'm not seeing a clear range, like as far as this, you know, I have a range signaled here, right? I have a high of 281.90 and a low of 191. This wick, it's not my favorite, right? It may play a factor later right now, but it was just one of those weird wicks that sometimes I don't like to include. But nonetheless, I've used it. One thing I want to show you here is on the 2 week, right? On the 2 week, and this is where I likely think we're headed, right? We swept this high, this 2 week block, we swept it. There's a clean 2 week breaker right here, right? A breaker. You know, we didn't cause that resistance. We went right through it. I believe we're headed to 205.50, right? And from a USD perspective, quite evenly 187.60. There's a high here and 175.55. 205.50 is fairly clean. That's where I think we'll have no problem to go to. We might stop at 205.50, back test something like this. Let me show you. I'll draw it out. So we might, continue to trade a little. We might trade a little higher and then come back down, tap this 205, trade back up to EQ, and before we do trade lower, that might play out. There's a few ways it could play out, but I do see 205.50 getting hit. I think that's going to cause some support. Because there's really no, if you look at this chart, it's really hard to find some clear demand from a 3-day perspective. Like there's nothing clear over here for me, right?
Oh, there is, in my opinion.
I mean, this for me is not anything clean. The cleanest thing that's showing here is from a high time frame perspective. This 2 week breaker, right? And it has an EQ of 205.50. So I think we're headed to 2.
If you go back to that 3-day,
okay.
You see how to the left there, where you have the gray box.
This guy?
Yes, that's a that's a pennant.
Well, yeah, I mean that's
it runs into like an expansion level. So it's like kind of similar what we're seeing with 8K Bitcoin right now. You nuke a resistance that should be a strong resistance.
Right.
If it's going to retest that.
And like you said, I mean, for me right here, this structure, these candle structures, there's no clean block, right? And if you go through the time frames of daily, and we're gonna go in here again, really nothing clean. And the only clean block there is on the 2 week, like I showed you here. There's a clean uptick candle. There's an up candle before a down move. I mean, that's fairly clean. This is the block where, big money was selling, big money was get out of their positions or whatever, building their short positions, and boom, price went back down. We went right through it.
All I'm saying is that it's an even stronger block because it got that pennant consolidation in front of it. So there's a lot more volume trapped. A lot more volume was wrong after that expansion happened, and that expansion was a pretty strong expansion too. So it should be a very strong support in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Like I said, that 2 week breaker is going to provide some support. So nonetheless, I see 205.50 and 199 being targets. But if you're a little riskier, I would not play this, but 187.60 and 175.55. If any FUD does get released, I believe if any FUD does get released for whatever reason, and if ETH goes on a major dump, 171.40 would be an area where I would 171.40 would be an area where I believe.
Yeah, that's strong. That's where you really started to expand upwards.
Yeah, that's where we expand. So if we do for whatever reason, get a major dump on Ethereum, I said 170.140 looks like the spot that it needs to hold up. And we did see something similar on this. I'm going to show you guys real quick before we move on. I know we've spent a little bit of time on this, but this block right here from when that was it the tether FUD, or it tapped this block so perfect at 145.40 on that FUD. And then we tapped it perfectly and we saw the big expansion move. So what I'm just trying to say here is if for whatever reason we do get a big dump and we go way lower, 170.140 would be the spot that it needs to get through before the bullish invalidation is confirmed. And it'd be a clean close below that 170.140, and we'd probably be a bear market at that point. So that's my stance on Ethereum. I could touch on look, Bitcoin's trying to go a little bit lower, but I could touch on BCH, EOS, BNB. What you want me to touch on next? Unless you got something for me.
Let's go for let's have a look at XRP and Enigma and then call it a day, or you wanted to talk about KuCoin shares? We can do that. We can do that too. I don't really care. But we've been streaming for 50 minutes now, so.
Oh man, it doesn't even feel like it. You want me to go over XRP or do you want to?
If you have a chart, let's go for it.
Yeah, cool. All right, so what I'm looking for in our XRP. So let's look at this on a little bit higher time frame. So we had a nice, unfortunately, we did not sweep this low. We did not sweep this other low that I have signaled there. We just came up short, whether it got front run or not. I do still think those need to be taken out. Now, will they be taken out? I'm not really sure. So we kind of gained something on the daily a little bit. Haven't gained really much.
I kind of developed this theory when you expect stops to be run, but it doesn't like work out.
Yeah.
I kind of developed the theory that might just be because people have never expected price to trade back there anymore, so they had their stops above that low. As long as enough liquidity is triggered as price comes down because stop loss gets hit, the algorithms from that are used by big money, they pick up on it. So as they see a lot of orders flood the book, their algorithms will start matching these orders. And as long as there's enough liquidity flowing in, and there's other algorithms trying to accumulate as well, and they're trying to front run each other, that might be why such a stop is never actually, stop levels never hit, because the actual stops were sitting higher. So I'm not really sure if that's, like a third tap down there.
I think, yeah.
Might not happen.
Yeah, it might not happen. But, especially the way Bitcoin looks right now, I mean, I've been watching this hourly and 4 hour range here. It's kind of developed very clean. We had a very nice high, very nice low. We swept the high, we swept the low, we traded below, and 50% region. We went and swept the high again. Currently trading at EQ. So I'm not really picking up a position here on XRP. I'm patiently waiting for this to play out a little bit more. I need some price to develop to really determine if this is going to be the reversal or not. I posted something in my channel that I'm really not, we had a clean rejection out of this daily block. I'm not leaning full bull yet until I get a nice close, above 59.61. If we do, I'll buy the back test. But for me personally, I don't see a reason to be a part of this trade when I do think Bitcoin is going to go lower, and usually XRP does not really react that well. So and then again, I could be wrong, guys. So
it does. Like when Bitcoin dumps, XRP pumps, man.
So, and like I said, I don't trade XRP that often. I do trade it when I do feel it's right, and right now I just feel a little bit uncertainty. So, I'm really not there. Nothing really aligns from a TA perspective on my end. And hey, it might pump, it might not. But do you want to share your analysis
on XRP? Not really.
Okay.
XRP is a coin that you definitely you want to trade it when it goes, and even though I hate it so much fundamentally, and I do believe that it's going to trade to zero because it has zero use case, and it was just a fantastic ripple to make.
I mean, for me, let's look at this. If you guys want to know what I'm looking for, I don't care if this thing goes right here. It's going to more than likely get rejected at former range low at 60.77. This is something I put in my channel. I'm looking for a nice dive back south. There's a nice low over here, nice block over here. If we get that nice dive low, reclaim, there's so much right here that will protect this thing. That we get a reclaim right here, I think we're going high, way higher prices, and that's when I will really be intrigued with XRP, and that's why I've not jumped the gun here. I'm just patiently waiting for more of a high time frame play. I'm looking for a nice clear rejection. If we do get a nice clean close back above this former range low, like we're seeing, hold on, let me do this real quick. Oh, sorry. If we do get a nice clean close back above, notice how there's a block right here. If we do get a clean close, we'll probably get a rejection there. trade a little bit lower, reclaim this low, this former low, that's going to signal along, guys. Right when we close back above this former low at 60.77, that will signal along and strength within our trend. And I'll be a buyer on this back test, targeting way higher prices. But for me, like I said, buying here at current prices is more, you know, I'd rather sit sidelined and let's see how Bitcoin develops and wait for my clear setup, long setup to come to fruition. And I'll go from there. What do you think, Jack?
I think that break is a bit too high. I would say reclaiming 5,500 is what I would. 5,500 looks good to me. Like if you reclaim that on the high time frame.
Yeah, we just haven't tested this low. We broke past it. We haven't back tested it at all.
You know, so, but that's like enough room for me for like entry on a retest of 5,500. And I think that low is it's so close to your current consolidation. Like if it's going to break up, it's not going to stop there. You know, like it's going to continue upwards. And literally, if you look at this structure, it's just empty space to the upside. It's empty space to the upside to that 0 VIP of yours.
Absolutely. I mean,
the 0.5. I mean, sorry, like.
This could very well be a nice swing trade for individuals want to take, you know, 5,100 to 6K sats. I could see that for sure.
All right. Let's see.
You want me to jump into EOS, ZIL? Which one you want me to do?
Well, I wanna get some dinner, man. It's 7:30 here now. We've been streaming for 56 minutes. So,
what's everyone else saying? Let's see. Thanks for your feedbacks. Thanks, guys. I got to take off. Alts didn't really dump much today. All right. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. We could finish up the show here. Congratulations to Lizzie B.
Lizzie. Yeah.
Lizzie, sorry.
Thanks for always tuning in, guys. Really appreciate that. If you like our content, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter. And we hope to catch you next week. Anything you want to add?
No, it's all set. Thank you guys for tuning in once again. We love what we do. We love being a part of this community and love that you guys are tuning in, and that's what keeps us going. So thank you, everyone, and we look forward to our next session.
Sweet. All right. Peace, everyone.